General Hospital teaser Port Charles stands at a crucial juncture as Sonny and Jason, two characters deeply entrenched in the criminal underworld, make the bold decision to step away from this dangerous life they've known for so long. However, this decision is far from a simple and peaceful exit. Part of their decision is driven by a desire to protect their families, but an even larger part is about confronting the dark and malicious plot orchestrated by Sidwell, a man whose ambition to take control of Port Charles poses a direct threat to everything Sonny and Jason hold dear. It all begins when Sidwell, with the support of Drew, Tracy, and Jordan, makes a tempting offer to Sonny. He wants to buy the docks. Sidwell's proposal is not just about taking over a piece of real estate, it's his way of positioning himself as the new leader of Port Charles. By acquiring the docks, Sonny and Jason will effectively be pushed out, forced to retire from the criminal empire they've built. While the idea of retiring from their dangerous lifestyle seems appealing, the reality of stepping aside is much more complex. For Sonny, this is not an easy decision. He has long been the head of Port Charles's criminal operations, and giving that up means more than just stepping out of the game. It means handing over control to someone who might not understand or appreciate the intricate balance required to maintain order in the town. Sonny, despite his desire to escape the blood-soaked world of crime, is acutely aware of the dangers that come with Sidwell's rise to power. He knows that if Sidwell gains control, Port Charles will undergo a drastic transformation. Sidwell's ambitions go beyond just making money or gaining power. He has a darker agenda. What concerns Sonny most is Sidwell's inability to fully comprehend the complexities of running a town like Port Charles. Sidwell is power-hungry, yes, but his lack of experience and understanding could lead to chaos. If Sidwell cannot control the criminal underworld effectively, the instability could trickle down and negatively impact the very people Sonny and Jason care about. This includes their families, who would be vulnerable to the fallout from Sidwell's potentially reckless leadership. As Sonny and Jason contemplate this drastic move, they find themselves at a crossroads. On one hand, stepping away could offer them a chance at a life free from the constant threats, the violence, and the moral compromises that come with their criminal empire. It could allow them to protect their loved ones and finally live in peace. On the other hand, they can't ignore the grave risks involved in letting someone like Sidwell take over. The town could descend into turmoil under his rule, and the lives of those they care about could be destroyed in the process. Their situation becomes even more complicated as Jason, ever the strategist, weighs the potential benefits and dangers of handing over control to Sidwell. He is not one to make decisions lightly. And as he digs deeper into Sidwell's background and motivations, Jason grows more and more skeptical of the idea. He believes that the chaos Sidwell would unleash could be far worse than the current order, even if that order is flawed and dangerous. Jason understands that their exit from the criminal world has to be handled with extreme caution, or else it could backfire and lead to even greater peril for everyone involved. The decision to leave is not just a personal one for Sonny and Jason, it is one that could alter the course of Port Charles's future. If they leave, it will mark the end of an era for the town, with the power vacuum allowing Sidwell to step into the void. But if they stay and fight, they risk plunging themselves deeper into a conflict that could destroy everything they've worked for. The stakes are high, and every move they make will have far-reaching consequences not only for their own lives but for the future of Port Charles itself. Ultimately, Sonny and Jason must face the reality that they are no longer just players in a game of power and betrayal. They are now protectors of their families. And the decision they make will shape the future of their loved ones and the town they've fought so hard to control. The question remains: can they escape this world without leaving behind a trail of destruction, or will Sidwell's ambitions tear apart everything they've tried to protect? Only time will tell as the dark forces of ambition, betrayal, and loyalty collide in the heart of Port Charles. Sonny and Jason both come to realize that allowing Sidwell to take control of Port Charles would be a disastrous mistake. Jason, with his sharp awareness and exceptional ability to strategize, quickly understands that Sidwell is not the right person to run Port Charles without plunging it into chaos. While they are on the verge of stepping away from a criminal life, Jason knows that every decision they make carries consequences, and allowing Sidwell to seize power might bring unforeseen dangers. This decision would force both of them to face consequences that they are not fully prepared for, with repercussions that could be far-reaching and irreversible. But despite their clear understanding of the risks, neither Sonny nor Jason can easily walk away from the criminal world they've been entrenched in for so long. For years, they've built an empire, forged alliances, and fought battles that have shaped who they are. The underworld has become their life. And leaving it behind means far more than simply retiring. It means abandoning everything they've fought for and losing the protection their powerful position provides. They both know that to leave would require great sacrifices that could cost them dearly, from their allies in the criminal world to the relationships they've spent years cultivating. Furthermore, the idea of Sidwell running Port Charles is deeply unsettling. Sidwell is not just a man hungry for power, he is manipulative, constantly seeking ways to manipulate situations for his own benefit. The thought of him holding the reins without anyone to hold him accountable sends shivers down their spines. They are well aware that if they step back and leave Port Charles in Sidwell's hands, the town will no longer be in capable control. Chaos would likely ensue. And there would be no one to stop him from exploiting the town and its people to serve his own ruthless agenda. Both Sonny and Jason understand that the decision to pull back from the criminal empire is not one they can make lightly. The world they know is one of constant danger and volatility. But it is also a world where they have power, influence, and the ability to protect their loved ones. If they let go, they risk not only losing their power but also exposing themselves and those they care about to new dangers that Sidwell would undoubtedly bring. The burden of leadership weighs heavily on them, and the realization that they cannot simply walk away without significant cost begins to take hold. As much as they desire to live a life free from the constant threats, betrayals, and bloodshed, they understand that their actions will have far-reaching consequences. The question is whether they can continue to hold on to their empire and keep Sidwell at bay, or whether the time has come for them to step aside and face whatever dangers come with allowing a man like Sidwell to rise to power. In the end, Sonny and Jason are not just fighting for control of Port Charles, they are fighting to protect everything they have built, everything they stand for, and the families they love. The decision to walk away is not just about leaving the life behind, it's about ensuring that the future of Port Charles is not left in the hands of someone who will destroy it. The weight of this decision will define not only their future but also the future of everyone in the town they've worked so hard to control. With the stakes higher than ever, Sonny and Jason decide to take a calculated step. Realizing the complexity of the situation and the potential dangers that Sidwell poses, Sonny begins to meet with Laura, a trusted ally who has been by his side during some of the darkest moments. Laura's insight and ability to navigate the intricate power dynamics of Port Charles make her an invaluable asset in their fight against Sidwell's growing influence. She has always been someone who understands the town's power struggles, and her sharp instincts allow her to see beyond the surface, making her the perfect partner in this battle. Sonny shares his decision with Laura, explaining the dangers that Sidwell's rise to power could bring to the town. They discuss the potential consequences of Sidwell gaining control of Port Charles, not just for their families, but for the entire town. Laura, always the strategist, listens carefully, her mind already at work on how to counter Sidwell's plans. With her knowledge of the town's key players and the networks of influence within Port Charles, Laura quickly formulates ideas on how they can unite the remaining forces to stand against Sidwell. Laura's expertise in dealing with power struggles and her deep understanding of Port Charles's political and criminal landscape make her an ideal ally for Sonny and Jason. She knows that defeating Sidwell won't be easy, he has powerful allies, and his ambitions know no bounds. However, Laura is not someone who backs down from a fight, especially when the stakes are so high. Together, they begin to strategize, planning how to disrupt Sidwell's rise to power and protect the future of Port Charles. In this high-stakes game of power, Sonny, Jason, and Laura know that they cannot afford to make mistakes. Every move must be precise, every alliance carefully cultivated, and every decision weighed for its potential consequences. As the battle against Sidwell escalates, they realize that the future of Port Charles will be shaped by their actions. And they must stand together to prevent the town from falling into chaos under Sidwell's control. At the same time that Sonny and Jason are strategizing against Sidwell's rising influence, Jason is pulled into another critical task by Tracy. Known for her sharp intellect and her ability to manipulate situations to her advantage, Tracy has been quietly working behind the scenes. She's already managed to convince Lulu to retract the adoption agreement regarding Brooke Lynn, a significant move in itself, but this is only part of her larger plan. Now, Tracy has a much more urgent and complicated request for Jason. She wants him to investigate Giovanni, a mysterious figure who has recently emerged in Port Charles. Giovanni seems to be connected to a long-hidden secret that could have far-reaching implications for everyone involved. Despite already being deeply involved in the battle against Sidwell, Jason knows he cannot refuse Tracy's request. He understands that in the high-stakes world they are navigating, no stone can be left unturned, and no lead can be ignored. Giovanni, on the surface, may appear to be a minor player in the grander scheme of things. But Tracy's insistence suggests that Giovanni is much more significant than he seems. And his ties to a hidden secret could be the key to undermining Sidwell's plans. Jason's mind is consumed with the upcoming confrontation with Sidwell. But he knows this investigation cannot be postponed. The danger of Sidwell's rise to power is immediate and pressing, but uncovering the truth about Giovanni could offer an unexpected advantage. Tracy has her own reasons for being suspicious of Giovanni, and Jason's investigation could reveal a connection to Sidwell that they weren't even aware of. If Giovanni is tied to Sidwell's operations, or if he knows something crucial about Sidwell's past, then Jason's findings could alter the course of their entire strategy. As Jason delves deeper into Giovanni's background, he starts to uncover a web of secrets and inconsistencies in Giovanni's story. Giovanni, who had always been somewhat of an enigma to the residents of Port Charles, begins to reveal layers that were previously hidden. His connection to Sidwell is not immediately apparent, but there are whispers, unverified rumors, and suspicious activities that point to a deeper involvement. Jason knows that every detail, no matter how small, could lead to a critical breakthrough. The more Jason uncovers about Giovanni, the more he realizes that the man's past is intertwined with the darkest corners of Port Charles's underworld. Giovanni's connections may be far-reaching, and his knowledge of Sidwell's plans could be more valuable than anything they've uncovered so far. Jason's investigation takes him into shadowy areas, where he must tread carefully. Giovanni has proven to be a slippery figure, and Jason knows that if he gets too close to the truth too quickly, he risks exposing himself to dangerous people who will stop at nothing to protect their secrets. Jason's relentless pursuit of the truth leads him into increasingly perilous situations. But he remains undeterred. He knows that solving the mystery of Giovanni could be the turning point in their battle against Sidwell. This investigation is not just about uncovering a single secret, it's about gathering intelligence that could give them the leverage they need to take Sidwell down and prevent him from seizing control of Port Charles. In the end, Jason realizes that the investigation into Giovanni is far more than a simple task. It's a critical piece in the larger puzzle that will either save or destroy everything they've worked for. The deeper he goes, the more he understands that Giovanni's secrets might hold the key to dismantling Sidwell's power. And with every new revelation, Jason becomes more certain that the battle for Port Charles is far from over. Sidwell, with the support of Drew and Tracy, wastes no time in executing the next steps of his plan to take over Port Charles. He has carefully orchestrated his move, intending not only to eliminate Sonny as the reigning power but also to expand his own influence within the criminal underworld. Sidwell's ambition is clear. He seeks to solidify his position as the new leader of Port Charles, and with the backing of powerful allies like Drew, Tracy, and other key figures in the town, he believes he has the strength to push Sonny out. Sidwell's strategy is multifaceted, involving manipulation, coercion, and a calculated approach to weaken Sonny's support base while gaining the loyalty of those who can help him ascend to power. Sidwell's plan is not just about eliminating Sonny. It's about reshaping the criminal landscape of Port Charles according to his vision. He understands that to truly control the town, he needs more than just power, he needs influence over every aspect of it. That includes expanding his reach in the criminal world, forging new alliances, and exploiting existing weaknesses in Sonny's operations. Sidwell is keenly aware that Sonny's control over the docks, the territory, and the criminal enterprises in Port Charles has been central to his power. By taking these key elements away from Sonny, Sidwell hopes to destabilize his empire and secure the loyalty of the criminal underworld for himself. This is a move designed to set the stage for his complete takeover. But Sonny and Jason are not individuals who back down easily. They have fought tooth and nail to build their empire, and they will not allow Sidwell to dismantle everything they've worked for without a fight. They know the stakes are higher than ever. If they don't act quickly and decisively, Sidwell will seize the opportunity to put his plans into motion, and the consequences will be disastrous. It won't just be the loss of their power, it will be the collapse of everything they've established over the years, the alliances, the safety of their families, and the very fabric of their lives. Sonny and Jason are aware of the immediate danger Sidwell poses. They understand that if they let him take control of the docks in Port Charles, it won't just be business as usual for them. Sidwell's tactics are ruthless, and his ambition is boundless. If Sidwell gains control, it will signal the beginning of a new era for Port Charles, one in which Sonny and Jason are no longer in charge, and where Sidwell's dangerous influence runs unchecked. The ramifications of such a shift are far-reaching, not just for them, but for everyone they care about in the town. Their families, their friends, and their allies will all be at risk. However, as much as they know the threat Sidwell poses, Sonny and Jason also understand that they have the experience, the resources, and the loyalty of those who still stand by them. They are not without their own power. They've built a network that runs deep in Port Charles, and they know that to stop Sidwell, they must act swiftly and with precision. This is no longer just a battle for territory, it's a fight for survival. The urgency of the situation pushes Sonny and Jason to mobilize their allies, strengthen their defenses, and launch a counteroffensive against Sidwell's rising influence. They know that they cannot afford to wait for Sidwell to make the first move. The longer they hesitate, the more ground Sidwell will gain, and once he is in control, it will be much harder to take it back. Every move they make must be calculated. They need to outthink Sidwell, anticipate his next steps, and stay one step ahead. In the face of this growing threat, Sonny and Jason realize that their fight is no longer just about protecting their empire, it's about protecting the future of Port Charles itself. Sidwell's vision for the town is one of chaos and instability, but Sonny and Jason believe in order, control, and loyalty. They must do everything in their power to preserve the legacy they've built, and in doing so, ensure that Port Charles remains under their watch, not Sidwell's. The clock is ticking, and every decision will have dire consequences. Sonny and Jason know that this is the most critical moment of their lives. They must act quickly and decisively, or risk losing everything they hold dear to the grasp of a man who will stop at nothing to take control. In this game of power, betrayal, and survival, Sonny and Jason are ready to fight to the very end. Thus, Sonny and Jason's decision to withdraw from the crime syndicate is not merely about stepping away from the dangerous world they've inhabited for so long. It is, in fact, a highly calculated and strategic move designed to ensure the safety of their families and to maintain control over the current situation. They understand that to leave the underworld requires more than just severing ties with their criminal empire. It involves managing the delicate balance of power within Port Charles, ensuring that their exit doesn't create a vacuum that could be exploited by someone like Sidwell, whose ambitions seem limitless. For Sonny and Jason, this decision is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it offers them the chance to step away from the violence, deceit, and constant threat of death that has defined their lives. It offers them the possibility of a future where they can protect their families, live in peace, and build a life beyond the criminal world. But on the other hand, They know that stepping away without a clear plan could lead to catastrophic consequences. Their enemies, including Sidwell, would not hesitate to take advantage of any perceived weakness or power shift. The underworld is ruthless, and a power vacuum can easily lead to chaos, violence, and the disintegration of everything they have built. Sidwell, with his growing influence, is already positioning himself as the next power in Port Charles. While Sonny and Jason are focused on securing their family's safety, they cannot ignore the relentless rise of Sidwell and his allies. Every move he makes brings him closer to controlling the very heart of Port Charles, its criminal empire, and Sonny and Jason know that if they fail to act quickly and decisively, the city they have fought so hard to control will fall into the hands of a man who has no intention of maintaining the delicate balance that Sonny and Jason work to create. Sidwell's approach to leadership is one of intimidation, manipulation, and power hunger. He doesn't care about the lives or the families of those who stand in his way. He only cares about consolidating power for himself. Sonny and Jason's challenge, therefore, is not simply about withdrawing from the crime syndicate but about managing the fallout that will inevitably come with such a decision. They must ensure that their exit does not create an opening for Sidwell to exploit. They must navigate a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and power plays that could either secure their legacy or lead to their complete downfall. They know that their actions will have consequences that ripple far beyond their own lives, affecting everyone they care about in Port Charles. The stakes are higher than ever. Sidwell is not simply trying to take over the criminal empire. He is attempting to reshape Port Charles according to his own vision, and this vision is one of chaos, control, and power without limits. Sonny and Jason understand that in order to prevent the complete collapse of everything they've worked for, they must outsmart Sidwell at every turn. This means taking bold risks, making difficult decisions, and, at times, aligning with people they would otherwise never trust. But time is running out. And the decisions they make now will determine the fate of not only their families but the future of Port Charles itself. Their next steps will require careful planning and precision. Sonny, with his decades of experience, knows that this battle is far from over. He knows that his decision to step away from the criminal empire could serve as a way to protect his family. But it could also signal the beginning of an entirely new conflict. Jason, ever the strategist, understands that the future of Port Charles hangs in the balance. He knows that any misstep could mean the loss of everything they have fought to protect. Their minds are focused on one goal: to ensure that Sidwell's rise to power is thwarted before it's too late. But as the tension builds, the fate of Port Charles seems to rest in the balance. Sonny and Jason are no longer just fighting for their own survival, they are fighting for the soul of the city. Their decision to pull back from the criminal world is one that could either preserve the peace they've worked for or ignite a war that could tear everything apart. The outcome is uncertain. And with every encounter, every conversation, every decision, they inch closer to either victory or ruin. The clock is ticking, and in this game of power, betrayal, and survival, only time will tell if they can successfully navigate the treacherous waters and prevent the complete collapse of everything they've fought so hard to build.